Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And from the border of liberty and prosperity, the highway to the north, this is Safety Wars for Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. Where has the year gone, my friends? I don't know. I have no idea where the year is gone. But it is gone. So, let's see here. Are we on the radio? We'll figure this out. But it is gone. Oh yeah, we are there. Everything's working tonight. So, let's keep our fingers crossed here. Right? So, some of the other shows, right, that are live here, and, there's a lot of shows I look up to, a lot of the hosts. I use that, they're my either official or unofficial mentor. They have all of these, sometimes they have audio issues, sometimes they have video issues, right? Even the professionally done shows here, or the quote-unquote professionals, right, out there that are doing the live broadcasts, they have issues sometimes. And you're gonna say, "Well, Jim, what's the issue? They have issues. They have this. They have that. Blah blah blah. What's the deal?" And I always say, go back on the story here. So I was at a very late night Bible study in my younger days, and I was also the lector at the church, meaning at my church, and I was in charge of doing the readings. So we were out with the church group late at night. We got home, and then we go to the Bible study. Then we said, well, let's go out and let's enjoy ourselves a little bit, everything else. I was in my late 20s, and I had to do the 8 a.m. service. And I go up to the 8 a.m. service, and I forget my glasses. Back in them days, I wore reading glasses. I've had LASIK surgery to correct that. Now I'm wearing glasses again sometimes. And I go up there and I start reading, and I forget the large print edition Bible. And I'm reading from the regular Bible, and without reading glasses, and I'm like, and I'm messing it up all around. People are like, whoa, where was he last night? And I get about 3 sentences in, and I say, I'm having a rough morning here today. This is 8 a.m. Service. I said, I'm going to start all over again. So I start all over again, and we had our interim minister there. I forget her name offhand. And she's up there, and, she's like supportive, but she's like, oh, man, what's going on? And I go up there, I go through the whole thing, and without a flaw. They said, okay, great. I gave the Old Testament lesson. I gave the New Testament, I gave the Old Testament, the epistle lesson. We say a couple of prayers, and we're doing our thing. So the end of the service comes, and and guess what happens? They come up here, the people in the church come up, and they said, Jim, you did okay. You recovered well on that and everything else. And these are like the 8 a.m. Service people are like the really, holy rollers, right? They say, because of what happened to you and you restarted and you recovered, because of that, now I feel confident enough that I can do this now because you made it okay to make a mistake and go over again. And isn't that funny? That says a lot about life, right? Where you may make a mistake, and all of a sudden you're correct, and then you inspire other people to go and become readers at the church with that. And that's not only readers at the church; it could be anything, where you're down and out, and then you come back and you inspire people. You do things better and things. And it's that's not everything in life, but in this case, it did work out. And we did have a lot of volunteers for readers there because, hey, Jim's fouled up. Guess what? He made a recovery. It was fine. If he could do it, I can do it, sort of thing. And or it was the other thing is I can do a better job than him. Look at the horrible job he did, and it's okay. It didn't work out okay. And I share this story because it's, I see other shows, they make mistakes. They don't. I'm like, well, you know what? It's okay. Human error is normal. Sometimes what happens, though, the computers do not cooperate. So right now I have a 2G hardwired line for this. And basically everything in the house is shut off except for my father-in-law's TV, and maybe my wife is on the internet or children on the internet. They're not streaming anything. So we should have a good internet connection. So I hit go on the software for the camera, and it fails. And I'm like, oh, we're like 45 seconds before showtime. So, okay, let's retry it. And then everything went through. The issue normally isn't with the audio portion of this. If you're listening on Safety FM or on the podcast, it's usually with the other one. Now, something refreshing happened today for me. Very refreshing. So, as you know, we're not big, huge fans of behavior-based safety here. It has its place. A lot of companies are still going behavior-based safety and everything else, or there's some kind of a transition going in where they can't leave behavior-based safety because senior level management wants to stay there. They spent millions of dollars on a program, and they don't want to drop everything and then go to something else. They don't want to. No, they view safety as a operation. So what do you mean, Jim? You have operations where you go and you set up a system and it goes and it goes and it goes. Then you do that system until you're making whatever product that you're making. And then all of a sudden it needs maintenance. You fix it and then it goes again. With safety, you're dealing with human beings. You can't always do that, right, as with human beings, because they're always changing. Human error is normal. Now you have to try to minimize it, set up your systems so it doesn't happen, but we're all human. And to treat a human like a machine it doesn't work. And what they found out, so I'm giving a maritime training class today, and for a very large tugboat operation, but they don't like to be called tugboats. They like to be called something else. I got corrected very not in a not nice way, but okay, maybe I didn't deserve a very nice way. But so this company is going to be doing some offshore work. And that's pretty much all I can say on that. And we started to talk a little bit about, what do we talk about? Hierarchy of controls. Then we talk about a little bit, because everybody follows the behavior-based safety, and I get a guy raising his hand in the back of the class and said, hey, Jimmy, we abandoned behavior-based safety like 3 or 4 years ago. We only do it when we're forced to. So let's say we're working for a larger company, which I find hard to believe. There's working for a larger company than them. We abandoned it. Basically, what we found was there was a major situation, and nobody reported the situation. And we did some research, and our old safety person who's since retired, we all did some research, and we just left the whole behavior-based safety thing behind. He said we used to have that zero accident sign out here. I'm sure, he says, I'm sure it's around here somewhere, but it ain't out, right? Somewhere. It ain't out, you know. The management, if they are keeping track of these things with hours and everything, they ain't telling us. And our bonuses, our pay, our promotions is not based on that sign. And this is a non-union outfit here. We try to get along and everything else. It's described to me their whole behavior-based safety system. Their human organizational performance system. And what we discussed, we had a very productive discussion because the management knew a lot about it, the theory, right? They get a safety training. A lot of things don't get retained. But the worker on the front line at the sharp end of the stick did not necessarily know about safety training or about human organizational performance. And we got to go into a little bit of background, the theory. The 5 principles of human organizational performance, the Jens Rasmussen modes of work diagram that we use, the learning teams, and everything else. And they've embraced this. I said, well, how have been the results? He said, well, to be honest, more things are reported that are wrong. But the things that are reported wrong are like things that, if they're not fixed, could lead to bigger issues. So we're getting a lot of information, a lot more information than we want, than we thought we would get. Sometimes more information than what we want, but we're getting information, and we're applying that information, and some of it's good, some of it's bad, and we tried to, and this wasn't their words, but it was, I'm inferring it from them. They have a pretty mature safety program there, mature safety managers, and they're like, look, we try to get to the bottom of the things and, figure things out before we start, fly off the hook and everything. And it's like, look, it's a much more pleasant place to work now. Again, it's work, and, you're the boss. Sometimes, you do things that people don't like, but that's the sort of thing. So that's my opening here, is had a pretty good day here talking to Hop. And if you are interested in getting away from the adversarial system and blame, shame, and retraining employees that have been doing a job for 30 years when something goes wrong, if you're looking for a change, optimism, give us a call, 845-269-5772, or send me a line, jim@safetywars.com. Now, a lot of places, they don't have budgets or anything for safety programs, and they're not going to embrace this, but guess what we can do? What can you do? What can I do? What can we all do? We could go and we can listen to Safety Wars. We can listen to any one of the other 17 podcasts and programs on the Safety FM network here. And, let me mention a couple of these podcasts here with this. All right. So, here, Safety FM, About Us, affiliates. Hold on. Hold on. I should have had the list here. Hold on. Ready to go. Oh, shows. So you have the Jay Allen Show, right? We all know about the Jay Allen Show. With us, he's the owner of the network here for us, right? He's the chief safety officer here for the network. You had the pre-accident investigation. That is Todd Conklin. He is he's basically one of the progenitors of this stuff, even though he would not take credit in that. He'd say, well, now there's a lot of people that go on before us. You have the Safety Pro, the Hop Nerd, here with Sam Goodman, Rated R Safety Show. That is our other live show on the Safety FM network. They cover more general news like we were trying to do here, but it didn't really work out. Truck Safe Live with Brandon Wiseman, a Hop podcast, True Safety Podcast, the Accidental Safety Pro, the Safety Consultant with Shulton Primus, who's been on this show, Safety App of Work, Diary of a Bald Man with Alan Warford, Unapologetically Bold, Rebranding Safety, the Practice of Learning Teams with Brent Sutton, Essential Leadership Cycle, Interesting Health and Safety, Safety Wars, TED Speaks, and Safety Talks with Steve Sisson. Right, all great programs out there. A majority of them talk about human and organizational performance, not all of them. And again, there are other resources out there for this stuff. So I'm going to encourage everybody, there's a program for everybody here for what we're doing here with this. And I really appreciate being on a team with these professionals trying to get away from what I'm going to coin the old safety order. OSO, the old safety order of behavior-based safety, adversarial stuff, lack of leadership, and as we recently shown on the when we covered the COVID-19 report from Congress, lack of leadership everywhere. There's lack of leadership, loss of credibility because of this, and the safety professionals are often the ones tasked with administrating COVID. We got to overcome that. We have to rebuild some credibility. I agree with the report because it's been what I've seen. We got to rebuild credibility. We have to change our tune a little bit because right now we have 5,000 fatalities a year in the workplace, many more injuries, and we got to get that number down. So far with command and control and what we've gotten since 1971, April 28th, 71, has gotten us this, and here, right, 5,000. But what they don't like to tell you, and this is one of the things that when we're talking about industrial hygiene today during the training class, there are 50,000 other deaths, according to the estimates by OSHA, and they like to bury this in their website, not up front, that occur because of basically industrial hygiene needs, industrial hygiene faults, whatever we're going to call them here, situations. Basically, what we need to do is give leadership, understand people, rebuild our credibility, be advocates. And I know being an advocate is not easy all the time. There's a lot of against us, especially if you're your younger part of your career where you're not smart enough yet. You're not experienced enough yet. And I'm sorry, I hate to, I'm not stupid, it's not experienced. When I say you're not smart, you got to learn how people are. Doesn't come easy for most people. So, for example, now I say things that I would have never dreamed and dreamed of saying to people who I meet in the field. And one of my key phrases here, and you all have heard it, do you have the authority to hire, fire, discipline, reward, or make changes in your workplace if you're a safety professional? If the answer is yes, well, guess what? Your life is a lot easier because you can make changes where you need to. You could reward the workers. Now, if the workers know that, hey, I could be on Jim's shit list and get thrown off the job because I refuse to work properly, or if you're a manager on a job, I'm brought in as a third-party outside consultant or even a direct hire on some of these projects. Well, Jim does have some authority, so maybe we need to listen to what the safety is talking about and safety. And, of course, you can't be a dictator. You have to work with people, work in your organization, and everything else, and work with people. If you have that, I've had that before. It's a wonderful situation. We improve corporate culture and everything else. If you don't have that, if you don't have any of that authority, those 5 items, you have a problem out there. And the other thing is this: if they're not listening to you, it's got to be addressed with management. If you're being judged on your workers' compliance with a safety program, you better remember those 5 things that I told you, because that's going to come up in your annual review. And you have to come up with strategies on how to deal with this. One of them is, either negative and positive. One, I don't have the authority to do X, Y, and Z. you would have not given me authority to do X, Y, and Z. The person who have the authority to do X, Y, and Z don't care, or they have other competing needs out there. How am I responsible? Explain to me. Or how do I work in a system? How do I work? Ask a question. Don't be accusatory. How do I work in a system where I have no authority? I don't have any choice in hiring people. I can't fire people. I have no authority over these. I have nothing. How do you suggest that we handle this? How? And you get them. And if you could do this in writing, get them to answer the question with that. They don't want to answer the question. Maybe that's not the place for you with that. And I would never tell you to quit a job, but I have quit jobs because of the situations like that. So we're going to take our first commercial break, and we'll come back at you.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
This is Safety Warrior. We have not played some of their music. This is Hop, Human Harmony.
Make mistakes, you know it's true. Falling down and rising up anew. Learning from the scars and heal the bruise. Everybody's got their own excuse. Context drives behavior, can't you see? The past and present shape our destiny. The way you act is not just up to me. In this dance, we're bound by history. Blame fixes nothing, we're wasting time. Pointing fingers never solves.
So that's soon to be on iTunes, Spotify, and everything else out there. Right? By Safety Warrior. Anyway, we have you heard about this story here? I mean, this is mind-boggling here. But this is not the first time I've heard of this. Missing woman feared to have fallen into Pennsylvania sinkhole. Shoe found as search continues. So in a lot of areas of Pennsylvania, Appalachia, we'll just use that as a general thing. They were former coal mines out there and other mines, so primarily coal. There are voids. They built towns on top of this stuff. And often what happens is that things catch on fire and the fire never goes out. I think of New Streetsville, Ohio, that caught on fire back in the 1920s. And it's never, they have an underground fire going on since the 1920s there. And baking that coal and everything. Basically, after the fire, the town went downhill. The last time I was there, I worked on a project in Logan, Ohio for General Electric. Last time I was there was really nothing going on. There was like population 300, something like that. And the only famous family that came from there was the Nixon family, extended relatives of the former president, allegedly. And they are also famous for and I don't know if they still have it, but they had it there for decades, the the Moonshine Festival, the only one in the United States for a time now. Everybody's drinking moonshine again, right out there. Be careful, don't go blind. So rescue efforts continue as into a second day. Wednesday in a southwest Pennsylvania village where a sinkhole is feared to have swallowed up a grandmother who was looking for her cat. Local, state, and federal... just realize there are some people who are worried about the cat, not the woman. Right? For that. Right. Local, state, and federal agencies are searching for Elizabeth Pollard, who apparently fell into the sinkhole near Monday's Union restaurant in Unity Township, about 40 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. The search and rescue incident on Marguerite Road is still a very active scene. Unity Township Bureau of Fire announced in a press release. So basically, she went out there at night, and then when they didn't hear from her or her granddaughter who was there with her granddaughter was in the car, 5 years old, and they said, oh, no, where is she? And they found this sinkhole that apparently had developed that like right then and there. And this came out this morning that they do not expect to find the woman there, unfortunately. But they're still going to do that and try to do a recovery effort there. And let's hope that nobody else gets hurt with that sinkhole. That would really stink. Here we have another Pennsylvania story. A 66-year-old New Jersey man died in a work-related accident involving a ladder and an HVAC unit at a strip mall apparently in Schuylkill, Pennsylvania. The person is a Paulsboro resident who was employed by a company in Paulsboro doing HVAC work, and the facility was reportedly a dollar store, Dollar General. That's what the information I have is with that. But anyway, this might be a reason why I bring this up is that the name sounds familiar. We may know this person here with that passed away. Rest in peace. Here we have a Duke Energy line worker killed on the job in Sanford, North Carolina. A Duke Energy line worker was killed in an on-the-job accident on Wednesday, and it happened in Sanford. Duke Energy spokesman Jeff Brooks told ABC 11 that it was a tough day. Yesterday, one of our line workers was involved in the tragic incident in Sanford, Brooks said. Our hearts go out to the teammate's family and fellow co-workers who are currently reviewing the incident to learn more and ask for privacy for the family at this time. No other details have been with that. So, again, line workers killed, everything else. Now, this is something else here. U.S. Department of Labor, and they did not do a press release on here, so I'm going off of a ABC 27 website, abc27.com, and the stories by George Stockberger. Posted this afternoon. This happened in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The U.S. Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration is investigating a safety complaint at Hershey Reaches facility in Dauphin County. According to OSHA, the investigation began on November 15th after a complaint was filed regarding the Reese campus on Reese Avenue in Hershey, and OSHA spokesman says the investigation is still open and ongoing. So again, everybody's innocent until proven guilty here on this. Now, the article mentions that there have been 6 OSHA investigations with this company, including incidents about a partial finger amputation from mixing a machine, lack of fall protection, lack of machine guarding, and surprisingly, and lockout-tagout issues and exposed caught-in hazards. Surprisingly, they actually have a link to a lot of this stuff, and I'm not going to share it because the way that it's listed on the website, it's on a press release and it's not combined. So I have to take it one by one here. So what happened there? And this is all off of the OSHA website. Back in the most recent one was 920, was just issued last week. It was a hand and portable tools and equipment violation. And this is basically the tools were not kept in, the employer did not keep tools and equipment in safe condition that employees use a handcrafted cutting jig on a piece of equipment to fabricate circular-shaped swimming pool skimmer covers out of square-shaped pieces of plastic composite material. Right? And so they were removing the saw blade and involved sliding and cutting the jig with the right hand while holding the workpiece with the left hand. So they were doing something like this, right? Holding the tool and holding that. And they had to use this like in a hand situation. And the person contacted the saw blade with a finger, and resulting in a laceration and amputation injury to the left hand. That's not good. Right, with that, proposed penalty $11,754. With that, so again, not using a vice or using a makeshift situation here is what allegedly happened from what I take it here. This one's from 2023 here. And it was maintenance, safeguards, and operational features on exit routes. So employees are exposed to slip, trip, and fall hazards from emergency lighting not functioning. This was settled for $5,022 here, and with that, so two serious one. So it was $5,022 and $6,969. The next one was here. $12,474, right? With this. All right. It was for a situation where a employee amputates the fingertips when glove and fingers are pulled into a machinery, apparently, here. And it was a non-hospitalized injury. Explain that one to me. How do you amputate fingers and not be right? Okay, this doesn't make sense. So so basically, the employer's right hand was pulled into a machine, and right. The employee placed his hands to the bottom of the machine and started jerking the machine, operating something on there to declump it. The connector and chute came off, and the rotating paddles inside the FIFM caught the employee's right glove, pulling the glove, as well as the right and middle fingers into the machine. The employee was treated without hospitalization. However, the title says employee amputates fingertips. Must have been like an avulsion of something right on the fingertips. Didn't require hospitalization is what it's looking at, but they were whacked with the penalty ended up being $7,500 almost. And we have here, same deal here, where looks like a general duty clause violation here. With this, with a caught in between and crushing type of situation. With employees, doesn't look like anybody was actually hurt with it. And another one was 1910-12, which was general requirements for all machines. And employees working there were exposed to, caught in, or caught by hazards by moving machine parts from lack of guarding with that. So lack of guarding there. And for a total of like $13,000, something like that on here. And so there was a total of $13,653 when all was said and done, when some got negotiated downward probably, or settled downward. And here we have the last one was a 1910-147 violation, which was lockout tagout with that. and another one in 2021. Same visit was a general duty clause situation where this employee is clearing the jams in a machine, did not have complete protection from the oven stored energies. So that was the whole thing with that. And again, the article was written for the popular press and popular consumption, so you don't expect them to go into in-depth things, but that's what we are here at Safety Wars here with this. Now, this has been on the news in New York City the entire day here, pretty much. This was, so one of the things that, and the story just locked up. Hold on. There was apparently an organized hit on the CEO of United Healthcare. He was in town for a meeting in New York City outside a Manhattan hotel. And the insurance executive, and this is according to NBC News, the insurance executive was killed outside a Manhattan hotel in what police called a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. They got the whole thing on video. It appears to me that the shooter had a silencer on the gun, and it looked like a single action type of gun because there is no meaning that you pull the trigger and it fires, right? Single action with that. And so you pull back the hammer, you shoot, or it might have been a double action revolver because there's no ejection. And my understanding, what I learned today, was that some pistols, semi-automatic pistols, are designed that they don't eject, right? Or with the ammunition you have, they don't eject. So there were no casings there on the ground, because I tell you what, if there were casings on the ground in New York, handguns had to go through our registered. So if a registered handgun, legal handgun, is used in an attack, they have a sample of the ballistics on that. They're able to trace it back. Do they do that? I don't know. They got a lot. Last I heard, they were overwhelmed with it. They didn't really track it, but that's what the thing is. I don't keep up on those things. I don't know too much about guns, but apparently, no, it looks like a premeditated hit is what they're saying. Now, what I find amazing, and I've known a lot of these CEOs, the tech CEOs especially. A lot of them are in my town. I just ran into one when I was having Japanese food for dinner tonight. Very large. He's a CEO of a very large company. No security. A lot of these folks. And it's not that I believe that they could afford security, but they don't have security here. And that's kind of hard to believe here with that. No, again, personal security and everything else. And the other thing is this: in New York, if I was one of these guys, I wouldn't be doing business in New York, because you're not allowed to wear a bulletproof vest. They're illegal here. No, none of that stuff is legal. So because of a mass shooting from a couple years ago up in the Niagara Falls, Buffalo area up there. So, again, you're not allowed to employ full security anyway, so this is an issue here. OSHA emergency response hearing. The comment period, the hearing ends, right? The comment period begins. OSHA holds public hearing on proposed emergency response standard. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration has concluded a virtual public hearing on its proposed emergency response standard. The hearing, which began on November 12th, provided stakeholders with an opportunity to discuss the potential effects of proposed standard. Concerns have been raised about how this standard could impact volunteer fire companies. And the public comment period is reopened till January 17th. One of the things is, one of the things that I've read is that they will lose between 20 to 40% of their capacity if this standard goes through, as far as firefighters. So that means they're not going to be able to, one of the things is they're not physically able to do the job as far as pulmonary function tests are concerned with that. So VOA, Voice of America, let us go on that website. Now here we're going to do a screen share. I tell you what, let's go to our second commercial break, and we're going to do a screen share on that.
This is going to blow your mind. There's a new daytime talk show on your local cable access station. What happens when safety, scandal, and heartbreak collide? Welcome to Safety Wars, the talk show. Today's episode is a doozy. Imagine confronting your unsafe supervisor who just happens to be your ex-wife's new hubby. Talk about a powder keg. But wait, there's more. We've got an exclusive interview with a corporate exec who's taken out life insurance policies on his riskiest workers, hoping to cash in on a deadly mishap. Yup, you heard that right. It's a real-life plot twist you can't make up. Tune in as Jim Posel, CSP, our very own Jerry Springer of safety, dives deep into this explosive confrontation. Sparks will fly and secrets will be exposed. Catch the full episode on Safety Wars on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform. Don't miss out on the drama that could save your life. Like and share now and stay safe, folks.
In a world where danger lurks in every corner, one man stands as a beacon of hope. Jim Posel, a veteran safety expert with over 3 decades of experience, now bringing his knowledge to you with Safety Wars. Engaging, informative, and always relevant. That's Safety Wars. Join the safety revolution with Safety Wars, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos.
All right, so here we are on VOA. And again, VOA is open source here in the United States. This is the official government newswire for the most part. There's a lot of them. But Voice of America is meant to be America's face in the world. Here we have U.S. President Joe Biden got a first-hand look Wednesday at the U.S. Finance Rail project that weaves together his personal love of railroads and his desire to leave a legacy in Africa that will outlive his administration. I'm just reading what the article says, right? The Lobito, L-O-B-I-T-O. I know what it sounds like, I said, right? But the Lobito Corridor is a 13-kilometer rail line stretching from Copper Ridge, Zambia, to the port of Lobito in the southwest nation of Angola. The railway is meant to form a strategic and economic corridor under the Biden administration's Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, an initiative meant to counter China's well-established sprawling Belt and Road Initiative. So far, the Biden administration says it committed $4 billion toward the project. And basically, what it comes down to is and the average listener may not know this. I don't want to say average. That we have a lot of stuff out there that people are unaware of. And one of them is this. China has a growing economy like us, and they have been exploiting Africa and its resources, right, by making loans that they know that they can't pay back some of these countries. So what they end up doing is coming in there and getting the mineral rights, and these Chinese companies go and take all the minerals and everything else. And then on the other hand, we have the United States and Europe that need access to these same minerals. So they're in competition, and this has been going on for many, many, many years with this. So this is all part of that. This is all part of that going on here. So I know there were a lot of commentators today that were very upset at why are we spending all this money in Africa? Well, this is part of what it is, right? It's, again, context drives behavior. We are at one of those transition points in world history. All these projects and investments are designed to have a high impact, and Biden announced the United States will invest $600 million more to upgrade the railway and further develop the Lobito corridor. The United States understands that's how we invest in Africa is just as important as how we invest in Africa is just as important as how much we invest. So in Africa. From senior administration officials said this rail line will, by the end of the decade, be extended to its full length, stretching from Africa's Indian coast to the Atlantic port. Initially, it will transfer critical materials such as cobalt and copper from the continent's deep interior to the coast. When the corridor is completed, a journey that now takes 40 days will take 40 hours. With that, and, China has a lot to say about this. We'll leave it at that. Okay. With that, right? And this is all along those lines. And on from VOA Mandarin, Biden hits, and this is in English, incredible. From Biden hits hard at China's AI, Trump may pound harder. The Biden administration issued what is likely a final set of export control rules against Beijing earlier this week. The rules forbid companies from exporting an important chip component crucial for training artificial intelligence to China. Experts say it will further constrain the Chinese supply chain for AI. They also expect the next Trump administration to further extend Washington's strategic blockade. Again, escalating tensions. Where are we going to end up with that? U.S. senators vow action after briefing Chinese Salt Typhoon Telecom hacking. With hacking. All right. With that, hold on. I'll just read this story. Washington, U.S. government agencies. Okay. U.S. government agencies held a classified briefing for all senators on Wednesday on China's alleged efforts known as Salt Typhoon to burrow deep into America's telecommunication companies and steal data about U.S. calls. The FBI Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, Federal Communications Chair, Jessica Rosenworcel, and National Security Council and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency were among the participants in the closed-door briefing. Democratic Senator Ron Wyden told reporters after the briefing he was working to draft legislation on the issue, while Senator Bob Casey said he had great concern about the breach, and it may not be until next week before Congress can address the issue. They have not told us why they didn't catch it, what they could have done to prevent it, he said. China is denying the whole thing, is basically it. A U.S. official told reporters a large number of Americans' metadata has been stolen in the sweeping cyber espionage campaign, adding that dozens of companies across the world have been hit by the hackers, including at least 8 telecommunications and telecom infrastructure firms in the United States. Now, in a related story here, let's see. Here. So this is from the FBI. Let's see if I could get a thing. This is out of Forbes here. Forbes magazine. Timing is everything. Just as Apple's adoption of RCS had seemed to signal a return. I don't know what RCS is. What is RCS? RCS update is I don't know. Okay. Doesn't matter. Right? Timing is everything. It's just Apple's adoption of RCS has seemed to signal a return to text messaging versus the unstoppable growth of WhatsApp. Then along comes a surprising new hurdle to stop it in its tracks. While messaging Android to Android or iPhone to iPhone is secure, messaging from one to the other is not. Now even the FBI and CISA, the U.S. Cyber Defense Agency, are warning Americans to use responsibly encrypted messaging and phone calls where they can. The backdrop is the Chinese hacking of U.S. networks that is reportedly ongoing and likely larger in scale than previously understood. Fully encrypted comms is the best defense against this compromise, and Americans are being urged to use that whenever possible. The network's cyber attacks attributed to Salt Typhoon, a group associated with China's Ministry of Public Security, has generated heightened concern as to the vulnerabilities within the critical U.S. communication networks. So the FBI directors advised using a cell phone that automatically receives timely operating system updates, responsibly managed encryption, and phishing-resistant MFA, whatever that is, for email, social media. So what does it matter? One of the greatest oxymorons in the human language is computer security. The way it is with that. So, okay. Ukraine, and this is a near and dear personal thing for us and my family. Ukraine demanded Wednesday that Russia end what Kyiv called the largest kidnapping campaign in modern history and return Ukrainian children forcibly transferred from its territory during the ongoing war. Ukraine is searching for nearly 20,000 children who were subjected to illegal deportation and forced transfer. Yet the actual figure could be much higher, but we can't find it out. Right? Russian officials systemically refuse to provide information. Sarvinia told a meeting of the United Nations Security Council convened to discuss the situation that a little bit over 1,000 children have been repatriated, and she urged the international community to pressure Moscow to cooperate. Russia must be forced to do this. Now, I'm going to tell you this with this, right? And the article goes on and on and on. So we had on this program Imogene Salva, right, who wrote a book, One Star Away, on her mother's story of the Soviet concentration camps during World War II. Remember, Russia is, right, the modern Russian Federation is derived from the Soviet, and the Soviet was from the Russian Empire, Soviet Empire. So, no, the Soviet Union came out of the Russian Revolution and the Russian Empire under Tsar. And I have a cat here who's running into me. All right, now, during World War II, Russia has always had an issue with a lot of land, not so many people, and then when they started family planning situations, and a little bit of eugenics got thrown in there back in the 1920s and 30s, their population has pretty much sunk, and has pretty much sunk since then. And along with World War II and some of these other conflicts where they're just throwing people out in the war, there's huge casualties even in this war. They need people. They need people. There's a lot of arguments that say that this war is because they're fighting this war now because later on they're not going to have the people to fight the war under their current military doctrine. I know math and I know demographics, math, and everything was just based on math. And they don't have the right number of people in the right age groups. So, and with a low birth rate. And we're having the same problem here, according to Bill Clinton. Hold on here. Jimmy, you're full of it. You're full of it. You're full of it. I think this is Bill Clinton here. Hold on.
And on the immigration thing, she's the only candidate who has actually endorsed a bill that would hold down immigration in any given year to a certain point, and then make sure we gave people a decent place to live. We didn't divide people from their children. And we did total vetting before people got in. Now, Trump killed the bill. The bill was being written by senior Republicans in the Senate. And he killed the bill. Why? You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted, and that doesn't happen, and America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up. So we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work. There wouldn't be a problem. and he couldn't keep people all torn up and upset. Kamala Harris says, I don't want you to get upset. If you don't like me, you can vote against me next time. If you do like me, you can vote for me next time. Meanwhile, what do you say we solve some problems? What do you say we get something done? What do you say we get rid of all this resentment?
That was from a campaign stop for the vice president back in October. Now, why do I play that? Right? I'm called a conspiracy theorist and everything else because, and again, we know what happened with the COVID report now, right? Everyone calling everyone conspiracy theorists, and it turns out that they were right on a lot of things. So, demographic issues are what drive economies, that do what drive countries. So there's a lot of people that believe that a low birth rate in Russia is one of the root causes of the Ukrainian war, number one. Number two, there is not enough children in Russia. They kidnap, and their policy is to Russify people. So when in World War II, when Soviet Union invaded Poland, people like my mother and her family went over into re-education camps, which were concentration camps, to try to Russify them, and it didn't work. You can read Imogen Salva's book on this. Her mother and her family's experience is the same. In my family, 12 or 13 people died. We're not sure on the exact number, but no, it's either 12 or 13 people died over there, and there were 3 survivors from my family out of that situation. But again, to Russify people and get the population up. And that's what they're talking about here with return of kidnapped children here, is that this was still going on with Russia as today. So again, those who do not study history are damned to repeat it, as the Lord Acton had said, and many other people. Got to study history. And let me play this here, another one, right?
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
You got to face that harsh reality here, and that's what we're about here on Safety Wars. We're about a lot of things here. We talk about safety, we talk about current events. All of these have a little bit of a safety bent on them with this, and that's basically what we all do at the network. So what I'm going to tell you, it's been a great day here, a lot of great things happening. We hope to be on the air tomorrow. We're supposed to be getting our first major snowstorm of the season here in Rockland County. Some parts of New Jersey and counties further west already have had snowstorms, like up in High Point and everything else. And as I like to remind people, if you did not get to your leaves, you're not getting to them now. Right? Once it snows, that's pretty much it. So for Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.